I know that you had a spot of trouble in Canada with the fascist police force over there. Shall we go into that just briefly?
Sure. Yeah. They got a budget of $1 billion to police that event, and they turned downtown Toronto into a New World Order amusement park. It kind of was a very eye-opening experience because it looked like what society would be all over the world during the fall of man. I called the fall of man the machine is the fall of man, when we went from that golden age of living in nature, riding stallions through the savannas of Africa and so forth, until we became agrarian, agricultural, machine-like politics, hierarchies, pyramids. So Toronto reminded me of, how can it remind me? It hasn't happened yet. It kind of gave me the imagination of what reality would look like once enough people wake up, and the state, in their absolute desperation to hold on to control, had to send out tens of thousands of stormtroopers out into the street. The Toronto police, I have to just say on record, acted like absolute asshole child cunt fuckers. And I have very little love for all those people who allowed themselves to be turned into robots. But again, as I stated at the start, our enemy is not each other. It's more of a sadness, I feel, that these people did these things, and they were obsessed with me and my friends that were there. We had a little film crew, we had people with a boom mic, and me with a megaphone, and they were filming us, and they had $5,000 cameras, semi-professional Sony cameras, and they were constantly filming us. Filming, and I was like, yeah, hello, Toronto PD, maybe you want an autograph or an interview, maybe some DNA. And they didn't see the joke. They felt threatened, obviously very threatened, because I got arrested twice in a 6-day trip, missed my flight home, got kidnapped at the airport by the Toronto Police Department, dragged back into Toronto, and they scared the living shit out of me. I had no idea what was going to happen. But in hindsight, I'm glad I went through it. It allowed me to meditate on what freedom is, how much I love freedom, and how easy it is for people who are brainwashed to take freedom away from another human being. And what was my crime? My terrible crime was speaking openly out against oppression and killing children. Oh no, arrest them, throw them in jail forever.
It's just that and inventing a fictitious organization. What was it, the MI7?
MI7, yeah. In fact, my girlfriend's just started at MI7 here at Cambridge University as a Truth Movement Society.
Oh, fantastic.
And we were parading it just around the corner at the Society's Fair with big banners saying MI7. And we didn't get arrested. So how come I was saying that in Canada and got arrested for impersonating a peace officer? Which is ironic in itself, because as a detective with the Love Police, I am a peace officer. I can't impersonate a peace officer, because I am one. So the Canadian experience was brilliant because I met a whole bunch of Canadians who I think are wonderful. And it dissolves nationality. Like, people who are aware of what's going on are the same all over the world. And I had kind of ideas in my head of Canada as this kind of very laid-back, happy, non-America. I was like, oh, they're not American, they must be nice. And in fact, the fascism I felt firsthand, the tyranny, was a lot worse than I experienced in New York itself. The brainwashing in Canada, David Icke's got his stories about Canada as well. They hate him there, the establishment, because he emailed me and he said, yeah, Canada is a Illuminati stronghold. And I noticed this when you're riding the subway in Toronto and walking through the streets. Every single advertisement, advert, is for a bank. Scotiabank, Royal Bank of Canada, this or that. Everything is banking there. So you really feel the machine at work in Canada. But let's be philosophical. Let's be rational about what actually happened. The best they could do was to scare me and hold me for 46 hours. And I got to make my point. I got to meet all these incredible people. I made the mainstream media news in Canada, all over Canada. They knew who the Love Police are, who Charlie is. And the message of human sovereignty and freedom and dignity in the face of this machine, they helped it so much. They lubricated the message and allowed it to flower as much as possible by the very fact of them acting like absolute cunts to me. So,
well, it's like trying to grip water. You know, the tighter you try and actually grip water, the more of it goes through your fingers, and that's what the control system is starting to find out, is that as they tighten down on societies more and more, they're going to find that more and more people begin to slip through their fingers. Yeah. And you know, it's important to point out to these people, which I think you do brilliantly, that, you know, they're policing into existence a society that their children will have to live in, that, you know, that their children's children will have to live in, that you know, and that the animals will have to live in. You know, I get
But they're so deprogrammed, they don't even think that far ahead. They're incapable of making their own choices, which is why they join the police force, to take orders, to march obediently in their uniforms. A phrase I steal from a film, which I like to use all the time, is that in Toronto, all the police looked like they were about to invade Poland. They did look like SS stormtroopers, and it was crazy. But, you know, this whole argument about people need to realize what kind of world they're going to bring in for their kids, they need a big slap around the face, because they're not going to see it. They want to be on the winning side. They want to be on the power side. They're so brainwashed with guilt and hate and anger that they want to, as the book 1984 says, they want to have that perpetual boot stamping on the face of humanity. Maybe I need to backtrack a bit. Maybe they don't themselves want it, but they're not aware of who they are as human beings, so they're very easily led. And what I've been meditating a lot about recently, Megan, is that what's important is that we fight it. Victory is assured as soon as you make the decision that you aren't going to bend over and take it. As soon as you become a revolutionary, someone in the resistance, as soon as you are a warrior fighting it, you've already won. Because this reality is only a small training school for souls. It's a freedom training ground, and the freedom is freedom of the mind. It's the only freedom. You can be in jail and still be free as long as you don't compromise. So H.G. Wells, the old writer, the science fiction writer, he wrote 100 years ago that many people in this world will die fighting the New World Order. His exact words, exact quote, many people will die fighting the New World Order. But to me, those people who die fighting it are the true victors, because they said no. And we look back to World War II, the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, where a bunch of Jewish people in the Warsaw ghettos in Poland realized that they were going to get put onto a train, a cattle train, driven out to a concentration camp and gassed. And they knew that with their pistols and machetes, they had no chance against the onslaught of the Nazi war machine. But they fought, they killed Nazis, they stood their ground up until the moment that they were killed, and they were killed fighting. They died with honor. They didn't die like obedient drones in a concentration camp getting gassed.
That's it. They died with their boots on.
They died with their boots on in battle. And, you know, no one truly dies. This is only... I've got very hippie thoughts about the nature of reality. But no one truly dies. So if you kind of get taken out of this 3D world virtual reality playing ground, do it with honor. Do it standing for something. And what did someone once say? It goes, if you're going to live for nothing, at least die for something, you know. And this might sound very dramatic to all the viewers, but you need to remember death itself is an illusion. It wasn't that scary before we were born. It's not going to be that scary after we die. And the way the control mechanism keeps us locked into this 3D world is through all the fear of disease and death and worry and panic. And it's because they need to make you think that this is all there is. And the Darwinian theories, how, you know, science itself, which is another religion itself, is just to keep you in your place. So as soon as you realize that there's not really anything that can really touch you, because you sitting there, me sitting here, this isn't us right here, this is our awareness wearing these biological spacesuits having this interaction. So when I walk out in the street and do love police actions, I'm not really there. My awareness, which comes from the 17th dimension, whatever, is piloting this body, doing these things. So I'm here to have fun. And for me, having fun right now is fighting the suppression.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm definitely a huge believer in non-compliance, and one of the reasons that I wanted to come and speak to you specifically is because when you're dealing with someone, say like David Icke, who's been a television presenter, who's been in the public eye, you know, people think, oh, okay, it's okay for him because, you know, he's done this. But for you and for many of the people that are watching, please go and look at the Love Police on YouTube, because you're going to see what difference one person can make. You're going to see what difference one normal person who had, you know, a desk job, who lost it, can make in the world. And people feel so disempowered. They say, you know, little me, what can I do? Without realizing that, yeah, they are, you know, as David would say, infinite consciousness. Since we're discussing David today as well.
Yeah. Because I've been reading a lot of his new book recently, and it's fucking fantastic. Really, really good.
That would be Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More by David Icke that he's talking about.
Yeah. It is. Coming back to civil disobedience, this is my kind of main things, my main points, which are just going to come from the top of my head. I'm going to try and connect to some reality out there. Quit your job. Tell your manager to fuck off. Don't have a television, and stop paying taxes. Those 4 things, especially quitting your job, I think, are the kind of foundations of a free human being. And people say, oh, how will I pay the bills? How will I pay the mortgage? How will I feed the kids? But the universe is kind, like the goddess is kind. These things will fall into place. I have no idea how I was going to live. I've not paid money for 1.5 years now, and I'm still alive. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm still here. You know, I don't pay taxes. I don't support the wars in Iraq financially. I certainly don't support them philosophically
or energetically.
Yeah. So the main things is quit your job. Take the leap of faith. You need the fear inside you. You need to worry about what's going to happen, and you'll find that if you do things bravely, the universe loves bravery and courage, and that you will be rewarded with the answers, because this is a freedom training ground. This is a testing of your soul. It is a way for you to find out what you are as a human being. But also, if you are going to go out there and start preaching love and light, you need to start living it yourself. And the main thing of love is, don't be part of a corporate hierarchical slave system. Free yourself, lead by example. And I couldn't go out there with a megaphone and say all these things if I still had a desk job and still paid taxes and, subscribe to The Economist magazine and all this shit. So, yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying is exactly what Gandhi said, which is be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because people have this fear, and for millennia, really, the people that have been in control, the dictators and the fascists, have manipulated this fear to such an extent that, for instance, Ho Chi Minh wrote a number of poems while he was in prison. He wrote one called Leg Irons. And, it's a particularly telling one because, the final lines of it are, that the stranger thing yet is that men will place their legs in irons, for else otherwise they would have no place to lay their heads. And in truth, you don't need a place to lay your head. You don't need. I've now been technically homeless for about 1.5 years. I've got an air mattress that I hump around with me, and wherever I am, is potentially my home. I stay with friends. I stay, all over the world, and since I've stopped paying rent and stopped, putting my my energy into that sort of a system, and I've taken that chunk of money that would have gone towards rent, towards these sort of things, and now put them into trying to do positive actions for the rest of humanity, I'm far happier than I could have been if I had bought a mansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then this is the remarkable thing, and so yeah, because people are locked into this state of fear, and one of the most primary ways that we're locked into this state of fear is, of course, the global banking system. Maybe I can get you to address that briefly.
Absolutely. It's all run by money. As I say, money makes the world go around. The illusory currencies, the selling of fear and greed, which is basically what life assurance is. It's selling fear, and greed is selling investments. And from birth, you see children's toys, Fisher-Price, my first, what do you call it, till, shopping till, where children can press numbers and then play around with stuff. Monopoly boards is to teach children that money is real. Kids get pocket money. They see advertising on TV for toys which cost money. So they associate happiness with money. And it's destroying so many people because poor families, poor children, they can't get the new Xbox, the new PlayStation 3, and they get laughed at by the other kids. I had an experience of this when I moved to Scotland in 1990, what was it, 3? They've got elephants upstairs just for the camera. There's people banging around, like...
Yes, apparently the upstairs has turned into a dance studio of some sort. Yeah.
So I was at school when I was really young, and I was sitting next to these kids in Scottish school, and I was like, oh, what's his name? What's his name? And I was like, what's his name? And oh, his name's David Ford. And I was like, okay. And there's like, oh, have you noticed he's really poor? Look at his clothes that he's wearing. I was like, they look normal to me. He goes, yeah, he's horribly poor. He's horrible. We don't like him because he smells and he's poor. And his nickname is Kanta. I was like, what? And well, his name's David Ford, and they called him Kanta Ford. Just to really rub it in, and it's disgusting.